Every year when we spotlight the Minnesota Fringe Festival, we have a discussion with the executive director. And this year, there's a new executive director of the Minnesota Fringe Festival. So I wanted to welcome Robin Gillette to the show. Thank you very much for coming to join us. And let's talk a little bit about Fringe. I mean, for the uninitiated, what is Fringe and how does our festival sort of fit into the larger picture of the Fringe movement worldwide?
I would say that Fringe is a giant performance explosion. It's kind of the best way I have found to describe it. It comes from a tradition that was started with the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland many, many years ago and has spread worldwide. There are fringes all over the world and all over there are a ton in Canada and a lot in the US. And they follow a couple different formats, but they have some things in common. There are many, many performances, many, many venues happening in a really condensed period of time. So like for our Fringe Festival, we will have over 850 performances in 23 venues in 11 days. And the styles of performance all over the map. It's theater, it's dance, it's music, it's puppetry, it's shows for kids, it's shows for teenagers and by teenagers, it's one-man shows, it's musical extravaganzas, all over the map.
And our Fringe is the largest non-juried festival.
Correct.
What does non-juried mean?
Non-juried means that I don't look at the shows and say, that one's good, it can be in the festival, that one looks bad, or I've never heard of you, you can't be in my festival. It is a random free-for-all, which is kind of a fabulous way to let new performers get a chance. They don't have to have a resume or references or recommendations to get the chance to perform.
You're the new executive director. This is your first year sort of running the festival. What drew you to the Fringe, I guess, and why did you want to be a part of it? And what are the other things you've done? And how are you feeling so far? You haven't had any panic phone calls, have you?
I would say panicky and excited and terrified and thrilled and all those things. No, I'm having a blast. I've been doing it about 9 months now, and I love it. And it's kind of a perfect place for me to have kind of come to based on where I come from. It feels like a really good spot for me. Most recently, I was at Mixed Blood Theater doing marketing and community relations. And one of the big parts of Mixed Blood's mission is lowering barriers to attending and participating in theater, both in terms of bringing artists in who might not get a chance to perform because of their race or their age or their gender or their sexual orientation or disability, and also trying to then by putting a spotlight on people in those groups to bring people who are also from those groups into the audience, to say it is possible for you to be on stage, it's possible for you to see your lives on stage.
And that's part of, I'm sure, why the Fringe is important. Why do you feel that the Fringe is important, and why did you want to be a part of that, leading that?
I think the Fringe is so fantastic for access, and I don't mean specifically access for people with disabilities, although I would say that's a really important thing for me. But it's access to artists because it's a really low threshold for performance. You don't have to have a resume. You don't have to have headshots and a polished press kit. You don't even have to have a show when you apply. You just, you don't have to have a lot of money. You have to have $400, and if you don't have it, you can apply to have that fee deferred. And so as an artist, you can come in with an idea, confident that the machine of Fringe will kind of hold you up and give you a venue and give you technical support and give you a website and give you marketing support and take care of your liability insurance and free you up to take your idea and do something with it. So I think in terms of access for artists is fantastic. And I think access for audiences too. For $12 and 60 minutes, you can come to my festival and I'll show you something. And you've never seen it before. You may love it, you may hate it, but it's a really low impact way to allow you to look at something new and experience a lot of things. And if you see 5 shows in one day, then you've been exposed to a large range of things with a pretty low impact of time and money. And so I think access to audiences is a fantastic thing that Fringe does.
The community aspect of the Fringe extends in a number of different ways. It's not just a community of artists, although that's certainly a large part of it. It also seems to be a community of actors and audience in a way that isn't always present in other theater, as well as a community among audience members.
It's one of the cool things. A lot of it comes, I think, from offering the chance to do audience reviews. It makes it a more interactive experience, that as an audience member, you go, you see the show, you know, to some extent, you talk about the show at the next theater you're at. You also have a chance to go online, post a review. You know, and what's interesting is if you look at a show that's got 6 or 8 reviews, people not only go on and say, "Hi, my name is Robin. Here's what I thought of the show," but they also will have read everyone else's review and will interact. And I saw up here that so and so didn't like this element. I'd like to say that I thought this element actually worked really well. And so even on electronically, it creates a dialogue. And I don't know, it's a great way to make people take a bigger investment than buying a ticket, seeing a show, going home and going to bed.
Yeah, people aren't just entitled to have an opinion, but they're actually encouraged to have an opinion and share it.
Right, because I think that's really important. I think, you know, I believe that everyone should come see theater. It's one of my personal passions. It's brilliant. Everyone should come see it. But it's kind of, I want it to be more interesting to come to theater than it is to sit and watch a sitcom. You know, where, yes, you sit, you look at it, it comes into your eyes, and then you go to commercial and it has left your head. I think with Fringe, you come see it, and I want it to stay in your head, and I want you to do something with it.
Well, and because there is that live element, the audience is there live, the performers are there live, there is the opportunity for it to be more than just a passive viewing experience. It can be more active.
Yeah.
And the Fringes seems is always trying to foster new ways of doing that.
Right. Right.
And just like every year, there are a lot of the Fringe venues are sort of scattered, and there are a great number of them. But it seems like there are always some sort of stalwarts that come through year to year, and then there's always a new set that kind of roll in. Some of which have been part of it before and are coming back, and some of which are sort of brand new partnerships. Yep. So the ones that are sort of coming back are
coming back. Mixed Blood and the Southern and Jinlun are all back. We're going back to Pillsbury House. We haven't been there since 2004. So that's kind of a returning thing. We're going to be at the Cedar Cultural Center this year, which was home from the very, very, very beginnings of the Fringe Festival. So that'll be kind of a total return to our roots.
Cool.
In Uptown, we'll be at Intermediate Arts and Theater Garage and Bryant Lake Bowl. And our Red Eye down at 14th and Nicollet. And where else are we?
Oh, we're going to the Ritz and Patrick Cabaret. They're kind of new this year.
Yep, yeah. The Ritz is brand new, both to the world and to us. Patrick's Cabaret has been around for a while, and I love the feel of it, because Patrick's is such a community place, and Fringe is such a community place, and so I'm delighted that we were able to make that one work out.
And in addition to all of the sort of established venues, there's also people that are sort of bringing their own venue, BYOV, and what sorts of, we had a pool last year, what kind of oddities do we have this year?
Well, the beauty of bringing your own venue is if you're doing a show that is a non-normal show in that it doesn't fit in a normal theater, then you have the opportunity to kind of provide your own venue. So like last year, the pool was a great example. This year we have an ad agency. We're doing a show at Carmichael Lynch. We have the Black Forest Banquet Hall. We're doing a parking lot, actually we have 2 parking lot shows this year. Bedlam Theater has a new theater over on the West Bank, so we're using that as a venue. But then Bedlam is also going to do their own show in their parking lot. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. And then there's a show in the parking lot of the Casket Arts Building up in Northeast that I think will be really cool. It's about human trafficking, and they'll be performed either on the loading dock or out of the back of a semi-truck to kind of talk about the portability and commodification of bodies in human trafficking. Oh, wow. So depressing, but I think it's really great.
And there's one that's taking place in a church, I think, too?
Yep, Bruce Ario, who did a Bring Your Own Venue last year in the Steeple People surplus store, is kind of continuing his story at the Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church. It's kind of his story of recovery, and the congregation of the church was a really big part of his recovery. So that's kind of what makes that site specific.
Okay. And so in addition to there just being a whole lot of different types of theater spaces, there's also just a whole lot of different places that performances are being done.
Exactly. Right. There's also a boxing ring on Lake Street. The Circle of Discipline boxing ring will be a venue this year. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. The Grain Belt Bottling House was a venue for a dance performance. So I would say the world of Fringe, we're expanding into new neighborhoods because Fringe is so fantastic that every neighborhood deserves a little bit of Fringe.
And the website is a good place for people to go for information if they want to volunteer, for information on tickets and the different packages and everything. And the website's address is www.fringefestival.org. And yeah, there is a tremendous amount of information about the shows and the schedules and the venues and opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to come to the parties, all those things. And there are bloggers that are sort of previewing things and talking about the Fringe in advance of the Fringe actually opening. So there's that aspect of it as well.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on the site now in terms of blog content, previewing things that are coming up, and we'll have a redesigned website that'll launch late June, early July.
With all the show information. Each show has a page where all the
Exactly.
information on where you can find it, what it's about, all of that kind of good
How
stuff.
to get tickets, all those things.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for coming in and talking to us a little bit about it. It seems like we could go on forever about the Fringe. It's so huge, but we're going to have a few more guests on, and hopefully we'll catch a little bit of that variety. And good luck with your first year.
Thank you very much.